welcome back to Behind the Joystick. I'm your host today, Cordy Yikes, and I have with me Bryce. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. I want to know more about you, just in case me or my viewers don't know who you are. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
So, my name's Bryce, or I go by FumpM online. I've been in esports since around 2015. I started by
Nice.
traveling the country playing in Hearthstone tournaments, and I was uh, eventually brought on my senior year to be a tryout on McPherson College's esports team and to get a scholarship to play League of Legends.
That is awesome. What were you going into college for?
The time I didn't really know what I wanted to go into college for, so it was just like communications, but
Nice.
expanded to sports business now.
That's really cool. And so you're still in college or
Yeah, so I'm almost out. I got 2 semesters left on my undergrad, and I'm
nice.
going into my master's after that.
That's really cool. How did you get into the Hearthstones?
So Hearthstone came out in beta whenever I first started playing it. I was a big Magic the Gathering player, so I went to all the Friday Night Magics at my local card
Yeah.
store. And one of the things that I didn't like about Friday Night Magic was like actually having to like around the time to like be there because it was kind of hard being in high school and kind of begging your parents to let you to the card store.
Right.
But so like, Hearthstone was just like easy way for me to just like chill out. I could play it anywhere, play it on my phone, I play it on my laptop. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's awesome. And so it pretty much that was like start for all of this for you because now you're the president at Supernova.
So on top of what I do over at Maryville, which I'm the operations assistant for the varsity program there, I'm also
Mhm.
the president for said the president of Supernova, one of the oldest amateur League of Legends teams in the country.
What moment did you realize that this was like path for you?
So what a lot of people know about Missouri being like powerhouse for scholastic esports. We had whenever I was growing up, right in 2015 to 2018, we had like Columbia College, Maryville University rivalry. So it was like
Nice.
Drake Porter, Dan Clerkey, a bunch of these people were around me and influencing me from a young age, right? So like
Right.
I'm very very fortunate to know the people that I knew starting out in the industry, so that I could ask questions that I needed to ask and not really fixate on one thing, but branch off into multiple different directions.
Since you first mentioned the esports operation, how has that been? How did you get involved in that and what does that really like, intake?
So, first thing that everyone thinks about esports is the pro players, right? And
Right.
there's like Connor Ale, the author of a book called "There's 100 Jobs in Esports," right? And there's
Mhm.
so many things that you can do in the industry without being a pro player. And so, if I couldn't be a pro player, then I wanted to do something else in the industry because I love esports.
Right.
So I tried playing Hearthstone for a year or for a couple of years. I went to some tournaments, played in some qualifiers, but at the end of the day, it was just like it wasn't going to cut it. So I went more into the operational side. So at Maryville, it's more so wearing a lot of different hats, and
Mhm.
that's what it is for a lot of these jobs in operations for esports, is that you're not really just fixating on one thing. So it's a lot of just identifying problems, looking at what you have, creating the feedback from the people that you have around you so you can try to turn it into something better. And it's
Mhm.
like a constantly evolving kind of ecosystem.
That's awesome. And so from there, did you have to apply? Did someone recommend you into operations or?
For Maryville.
Mhm.
So yeah, I kept losing. So I originally went back to school in at the beginning of 2020, I believe, or
Oh,
at the end
okay.
of 2020. So I took my first school that I went to right out of college. I didn't think that collegiate was for me. I took a few gap years. I went back in 2020 at Ottawa University, and this was at the
Mhm.
time that we were a big college COD school. So we were the number one and number two team whenever I came in. And Sergio is a great guy. He's over at the University of Maryland now. Really like ignited my passion back for educational esports.
Mhm.
And so I worked under him as his operations assistant, just on like general projects. He left to go to Maryland, and I decided to transfer schools as well. I followed my kind of partner, the GA at the time there, Riley Boyd, went to Missouri Western, and so I went to Missouri Western, and it wasn't like a big move. It was 40 minutes down the street. I spent time there with Luke Weiss, who's now the director at University of Central Michigan. Which you're
That's
starting to see
awesome.
a
Sure.
theme now, a theme of me losing my bosses to D1 schools. So after
Yeah.
he left, Riley was thinking about leaving as well because he got an opportunity to go to Boise State, another D1 school,
Yeah,
and I didn't feel like being there alone. So I said like I've grown up around Dan. He was a big influence on me and the reason why I'm in the industry to this day.
for
So it just
sure.
seemed fitting to finish my undergrad at Maryville.
That's awesome. And so then at Maryville, I believe you are the president of CG or GG
Uh,
Supernova.
so GG Supernova is an amateur team. So we're disconnected from the university. Maryville
Okay.
University. We do play in some of the same stuff. So NACL, the Tier Two development league for League of Legends, went undefeated this season. We went first, and we went to
Oh, nice.
Brazil for the American Challengers event. Supernova also plays in that event. We went fourth.
Nice. So what does Supernova stand for? How did that name come around and like what does the role entail as president?
So Supernova is a bit before my time in the space. I think that you can trace back its first team 2013. So
Really?
it's a brand that it transcends my time in esports, right? And
For sure.
it's always been around as a amateur grassroots competition roster competing in mainly League of Legends, but now we're expanding into other things, and they've played in other things over the years, but we're really trying to build an audience and a fan base in other games right now, and I'll get into more of that in a second.
Hmm.
But tons and tons of players, even players that were on Maryville now, have played for Supernova.
Really? That's awesome.
So if you like, they're one of the few teams where you go to like their LoL fandom page, their alumni players is just like this long tapestry because like
That's
it's a joke in
awesome.
amateur that like, every player ever has played for Supernova at
For
one point
sure.
or another.
That is so awesome. And then so the president role, what's your like day to day for that? How do you manage all of that?
So like, and it's especially exciting right now because we're making our expansion into Rainbow Six at the moment. So we
Nice.
last for the last couple of months we expanded into the pro scene for R6. We're in the Oceanic region, so we play
Okay.
against teams like Gaming Gladiators and Chiefs. So it's a lot of just planning out what our marketing approach is going to be in that region. Operationally, it's 13 hours ahead, 14 hours ahead of us. So it's
Yeah.
like staring into your crystal ball a little bit and trying to like pre plan this stuff a little bit. Watch parties and game days and making content and stuff like that. Like right now, we're constantly experimenting with like what we want to do to uplift our players a little bit. So our female team, we also picked up an all female team in the region, and they're
Wow.
playing currently. We lost last night, but we were undefeated before that. We're 2-1 right now.
Awesome.
They're amazing. We're doing it's stuff like identifying problems. Like I said, you're constantly getting feedback. You're constantly trying to look for ways to improve what you have. So we
Mhm.
noticed that the league that we're in doesn't do player interviews like the pro league. So
Oh,
we do a co-stream. So we bring our players in after the game and we do an interview and we post it to social media. So it's doing simple stuff like that. Also working with our jersey providers, doing a little bit of marketing. I pretty much do a little bit of everything.
that is awesome. So, is it what's one of the most challenging things you've encountered with Supernova?
The time management is pretty insane, especially because it's just trying to get everyone on the same page and working and try also just letting go of stuff, learning how to
Right.
like delegate roles to people because that's something that even I've always had a problem with is because I always want to have my hand in everything. So like, sometimes I just
Right.
forget to delegate tasks to people and make life a little easier for myself.
Mm. I know one of those guys. He does that too, and I'm like, just let me help you just a little bit. You need it. He's
I'm
got
getting better at it every week. It improves, but it's a slow process. It's hard to break habits.
That's awesome. You did all right, at least through Twitter, I saw about the Scholastic Awards. You were one of the finalists.
So
What was that for?
so the esports awards did a, I don't know if they're going to do another one, but they did a scholastics or a collegiate version of the esports awards. It was
Mhm.
called the Scholars Awards, and I was one of
Oh,
7 or 8, I want to say, finalists for collegiate student leader of the year last year.
that's awesome. Was that for Maryville or Supernova or?
At the time, it was for, I was at Missouri Western, but
Oh, okay, okay,
it wasn't really for a. I don't really think it was for being at a specific school. I think it was a culmination of my work at Missouri Western and at Ottawa.
that's awesome. How did you? What was like that story of finding out and then watching that your face is right there with the other seven, and you're like, it could happen.
No, so I applied and I made, I think, 2 tweets over the course of the nomination period saying if you think I deserve to be nominated, it would be much appreciated. But
Right.
I was playing, so I was playing with some of my teammates from Ottawa at the time. This is when I was on Missouri Western, so I was at home. I was actually sick that day,
Oh
and
no.
I was playing TFT with some of my old teammates, and we were watching. I had the stream on my second monitor, and we were all watching. I'm just like, well, if it happens, it happens. It is what it is. And
Right.
then I guess one of them went on the website, and it was already on the website before the stream went live. And so
Really?
he was baiting me a little bit that like, I didn't get it, and then I was like the second name they listed on the nominations, and I freaked out.
That is
Like
awesome.
it was such a good day.
For sure. And so like that pretty much is it feels to me that it's really the start of building your career in esports with everything that you've done to now getting or at least being a finalist for the awards. What would be like some advice you would give someone that is looking to have the same path as you're going through?
I would just say like, be creative. Don't expect that opportunities are going to be extremely easy to find because
Mhm.
I worked from T2 amateur back into collegiate. I think having a little bit of that experience helps. There's a lot of things that I messed up on. So like, I don't think that you have to be perfect either. I still make mistakes weekly, like, daily. So don't feel like you have to be perfect, and just, yeah, like I said, just be creative and make sure you're looking for opportunities that might not be readily apparent.
For sure. Are there any upcoming projects that you are working on that you're able to talk about that you're excited about?
For Maryville, I don't know what I can talk about. We're constantly doing community outreach. We want to make sure that like, esports in St. Louis is like powerhouse activity, and like, we have the facilities and the staff to like that happen. So
Mhm.
like, one of the projects that I'm doing this semester and last semester was just high school outreach. So we go to high schools. We say, hey, can we come out for like an hour, 2 hours, and bring one of our coaches and just lead a practice? Because most of the high school directors are they're academics. They're not traditional sports people, so they don't really
Right.
know unless they have like, a student or like, alumni that's like, really good at the game that wants to like donate time. It's really hard to like have a consistent like, practice across the board. They just like, ranked or something.
No.
But it's about like building good habits and instilling to them that there are opportunities past that. So that's a big project that we're working on. We're working on ramping that up a lot with like tournaments and stuff like that and like unity activations. On the supernova end, I can talk a lot more because I have a little bit of a longer leash there. We're working on a project where we don't really have anything set in stone on like when it's going to release either, but it's just to introduce people to like esports space without having to worry about like barrier of entry for like tournaments or like team passes and stuff like that, and
For
also
sure.
giving people that are newer to the space on the operational and managers and stuff like that a team. So like entering that team like a diamond or low masters team in like League of Legends event, for example, taking care of the entries, setting them up with like a good scrim schedule and stuff like that, giving them their first experience of what it's like to like play on a structured team, and also
Mhm.
giving them a manager that wants to learn more about like the aspects of more than just booking scrims, but more so the people management aspect of working in esports. Because I think that anyone can really book a scrim, but
Right.
it's managing people that are like that's the harder thing.
It sounds like it is because you're gonna booking is like, "Yeah, I'd like to book for this. Cool, great." And you can't just go in there and go, "All right, have fun." You have to really go, "These players are doing this, and I need y'all to do this, or drop this, add this," and just sounds like it's a lot.
So we plan on having that program for a couple of different esports titles, even some titles that we don't like traditionally field main teams for at Supernova. So maybe like League of
Mhm.
Legends part, a Valorant part, a Overwatch part, stuff like that.
For sure. What do you see yourself like in this esports space is going to be happening in like 5 years?
I'm really paying attention to like recent news about like Division One college only conferences,
Mhm.
and I like so this year we started to have a few leagues come up where they're only really targeting schools that have a higher brand value, I guess you could say, from like additional FBS schools. And I'm interested to see if that correlates to administrations caring a little more at that level because there's not a whole lot of D1 schools that have the funding to do what we do at Maryville. And I think it'd just be interesting. I've heard some talks about some very cool deals happening. So that's what I'm looking at mostly. I had a conversation with someone on my personal school projects. We have to do an informational interview once a semester. And so I talked to
Yeah.
someone at one of these D1 schools about like, what they thought about this question. And it's about more so when's the apex turning point of when players stop trickling down from the top back to collegiate, and when does collegiate start sending people to the top more consistently? I
Okay.
think that's going to start happening over the next 5 years a lot more. But yeah, that's kind of a roundabout way of answering that question, I guess.
Right. Now for viewers and even myself, I've heard D1 schools or FPS schools. What is actually that? Like what different divisions are there? Is there a division 2 or 3 or
So whenever I use that language, right, it's more so just like in the esports industry doesn't run off of like NCAA regulations, but that's more
right.
so just like what kind of traditional athletic school it is. So like FBS
Okay.
school, football school is Michigan or Boise State or Washington or something like that,
Okay.
where they have like very well established athletic brands that could be used to like propel esports in a more public view at the collegiate level.
So then division 1 is more of them or who would be
Division one
division
is
1?
so like exactly those schools that I mentioned. So like Maryville, we're not a football school at all because we don't have a football team, but we're a Division two athletics school. So we're like smaller campus stuff like that. Missouri
Okay.
Western was also Division two schools. University of Michigan, these bigger state schools are typically Division one schools, like University of Alabama, stuff
Okay.
like that.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Oh no, all
Not
good.
just you. I've had another person that was saying D1 schools or D2 schools, and I was like, what if there's people like myself? I'm just like, oh, D1. I can Google that later, but like really to break down what esports is, like if someone wants to do esports, but just is like esports is cool and I want to do it, but they don't really know. I don't know, like lingo or like how it works or stuff like that.
So
So it's
yeah,
definitely nice to know
there's a lot of collegiate directors that have athletic backgrounds, so the terminology gets used quite a bit. But it's important to know
for
that
sure.
there's like a line, right? There's a distinction because we don't have to follow NCAA regulations. It's just some people do, whether that be
And
from their own traditional sense of leadership, whether that be because their administration wants them to, or for
mhm.
whatever reason.
And NCAA is for sports aspects, or what is NCAA?
That's a governing body in college athletics.
Okay. Well, the more you know. I guess I do have one more question, and that would be post esports, post supernova, and your journey starting into this. What advice would you give yourself going, or at least leading through all of this to do it?
Advice would I give myself? This semester was like a really hard lesson in time management because we made the move to St. Louis. So like first semester I was living in the school dorms. And then me and my
Mhm.
girlfriend moved from Kansas City to St. Louis this semester. Um, top of that, I got a part time job high school
Oh,
because I'm
nice.
I'm trying to like my amount of debt.
Right.
um, I've gotten it to the point where I don't have to take out like again, but I think that with on top of Supernova, on top of Maryville, on top of classes, because I'm trying to get straight A's, it's just been a lesson in time management,
For sure.
and learning how to, like I said, delegate tasks if I'm in a leadership position. Like I said, it's pretty hard for me, but it's beginning to be necessary, and that's like a good like motif is that if I physically don't have the time, then I need to
Right.
do it.
For
Like,
sure.
um, yeah, I would just say like more breaks, make some more time for myself, I guess. I don't really like to like work is my hobby. I love esports, so like, and I know that some people think that that's like a very bad thing to do, but I don't know. I
I don't see it. I mean, as long as you're having fun and you can call it your job, it sounds like a win-win to me.
don't.
Awesome. Well, I think that is all the questions I have for you. Where can the viewers find you? Socials.
Yeah, come support us at Maryville or GG Supernova's Twitters, or you could follow me at fump_m.
Awesome. And I will have all those links in the description below too, so you can, easy click and go check them out for sure. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and I will see you Friday. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.